All right, welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Patrick the Picker. As you can see, I am by myself today. Patrick ended up having a late flight come in late last night and jumped on an earlier flight this morning. Not sure if he's at the airport right now or if he's just at his apartment, but he's not going to be able to make it to the show. No worries. Today is March 4th. It is the beginning of Champ Week on ESPN. March 4th is always a big day for me. It signifies my anniversary for leaving Ithaca 26 years ago, packing up my caboose. And my friend Bill Woods and I drove cross country in a blizzard. We started out the first day in a blizzard, didn't even get past Erie, Pennsylvania. But so March 4th, 1997 was a big day. I just wanted to bring attention to this beer that is a local beer out of Greeley. The name of the company is called Wiley Roots. Wiley, like Wiley Coyote. This is a strawberry cheesecake, and it's got an incredible taste to it. So you take a little taste, you can taste the strawberry and the citrus, and then as you finish and breathe out, you can taste a cheesecake. So this right here, I highly recommend if you just get off the golf course, you need something kind of citrusy and fresh to just, quench your thirst. I don't know if that would be kind of the kind of beer you could drink all day. Maybe if you're on a boat or if you're on the beach, it's more appropriate. But definitely try it out. It's Wiley Roots Strawberry Cheesecake, and if you're up in Greeley, you can get it made for you. It'll be brewed for you, very fresh. But we get it down here in Denver, and it's on tap here at Brothers Bar and Grill. Folks, I want to invite you to come down today. There is a huge slate of basketball games on. A lot of these non-premier conferences are doing their tournaments, so there's just a ton of quality basketball out there. I was looking on Google today, just the college basketballs today, and college basketball games today, and there are just ridiculous amounts. We're going to try to highlight just some of the top 25 teams, and then what we'll do is we'll summarize some of these other leagues, and we'll give you more of a report next week once their tournaments are complete and we know which ones have automatic bids. So as I said before, today is the second day of Champ Week. It officially started last night on the 3rd. It will go right up to Selection Sunday, which is March 12th. So put March 12th next Sunday on your calendar. That's when all the NCAA team of field of 68 will be picked, as well as the NIT tournament. So every single college basketball team of any relevance will have a place to go and have their next opponent as of the 12th. This full coverage on ESPN and their affiliate stations, also some of the games that are being streamed, over 250 games you have available to you. It's just amazing. I mean, back when I was a kid, you were lucky to see whatever the featured game was of the week, and if you were lucky this time of year, you might get 3 games that you could possibly watch. Now, in this age and time that we live in with streaming, if you really want to go crazy, 250 games, I don't think it'd be possible to watch that many games in a week's time, but they're there for you. 24 automatic bids will be decided between now and Sunday, and then of course we'll be doing a show next week talking about the first 4, the last 4 in, and we'll get more in depth with what we see for the NCAA Final Four tournament. Just some of the predictions of the tournaments that are going on right now. Patrick, I was going to have him do some of the betting odds on these, but because he's not here today, I'm just going to kind of list through which conference it is and who's favored to win it. This way, you can kind of write down some of these teams if you want to. These are teams that are favored in their conference. They've played well all year long. They may be people you want to look for when the NCAA tournament picks come out. There'll be teams that are probably, a lot of them are going to be 8 through 16 seeds. But, they pick off those 2, 3, 4 seeds sometimes, and that's why we see so many underdogs in the Sweet 16. Let's start out with the American Conference, and Houston has been in the top 3 pretty much all season. They're picked to win that. The ACC comes down to either Miami or Duke. American East is Vermont. Vermont is close to my heart. I was recruited there and looked to play there right up to the middle of my senior year. Atlantic 10 is Dayton, the Dayton Flyers, another team that I looked at back in high school, but they've always had a great program, and the coach that was there back in the middle 80s was a really good guy. The ASUN tournament is Liberty. People have Liberty, and you remember Liberty had a pretty good football team this year. Big East, UConn is favored. Big Sky is Eastern Washington. Big South, Longwood. Big 12 is either Baylor or KU are the two that are favored to win that. Big 10, Purdue or Indiana. Big West, UC Santa Barbara. The CAA is College of Charleston. And Conference USA could be either UAB or Florida Atlantic. Let's keep following down through here. And we've got the Horizon League, which is Youngstown State. They feel like that's a unanimous choice. They'll win it. Youngstown State is out of Ohio and is over there near East Palestine, where that terrible train wreck and all of the chemical just cleanup has begun. MEAC is Iona, and you know Iona is interesting because Rick Pitino is coaching there. So keep them on your calendar and your watch list. The MEAC is Kent State, which is again out of Ohio. The MAC is Kent State. The MEAC is either North Carolina Central or Norfolk State. Missouri State Conference is Drake, Mountain West, San Diego State. Northeast, no consensus, but St. Francis, PA, or Merrimack. Fairleigh Dickinson is also in the mix there for that conference. Pac-12, UCLA. Patriot League, Colgate. SEC, Alabama is favored. Southern is Furman out of South Carolina. Summit League, Oral Roberts. Sun Belt is either South Alabama or Marshall. And you know the Summit League is where University of Denver plays. They unfortunately lost last night, and they are out of their tournament. Sun Belt is, again, like I just mentioned, the SWAC, the Southwest Athletic Conference, Grambling. The WAC is Sam Houston State, and then the last but not least is the West Coast Conference, which of course has been dominated by the Zags, and you've got both Gonzaga and St. Mary's that ended up in a tiebreaker. St. Mary's won the tiebreaker. My insider from Gonzaga, Matt Johnson, informed me that they went to some really obscure poll. I can't remember the name of the poll that they decided to use, but it's a computer-generated poll. Not well known like the pairwise is in hockey, but St. Mary's was actually ranked higher than Gonzaga, so Gonzaga got the number 2 position. They're playing Monday night at 9:30 Mountain Standard Time in Vegas in the Orleans Hotel. Now St. Mary's plays at 7 o'clock, so we'll just have to watch that schedule. And that tournament's underway with the lower seeds right now, just kind of knocking each other off to find out who exactly will end up playing in the final 8. So that kind of gives you an idea, just to kind of wet your whistle for this week and watching college basketball. It's hard sometimes because when there's this many games on, which games do you watch? You know, so let's do the college basketball week in review. And again, the reason we do this is because there's so many games, and a lot of times, like, you know, with me, I'm out of town a lot. I go to Wisconsin for work. You know, it's hard to be able to go in and see exactly who plays and what games happened. So this is just kind of a quick rundown. Last Sunday we talked a little bit about this, and I just about went up there to CU Boulder. They played number 4 UCLA, really did well, hung in there, ended up losing 60-56. But Tad Boyle's got his team poised, whether it be probably for an NIT run, but watch them closely because that's a good program up there, and they played the number 4 team in the country pretty strongly. Monday night, we had number 7 Baylor versus Oklahoma State, 74-68. Baylor won. Marquette, number 6, is playing just probably the best season they've had since when Dwayne Wade was there. Number 6 versus Butler, they won 72-56. Clemson played UVA, number 13 UVA, and UVA won 64-57. That kind of shows you that right now UVA is one of the top teams in the ACC. Duke's coming on pretty strong. Miami's also there. So we'll have to see what happens between those 3 teams. Iowa played number 15 Indiana, 90-68. Iowa won. By the way, UVA beat Clemson 64-57. Number 18 San Diego State played at Boise State and lost. Okay, now that's not a good indication for the Mountain West. They lost 66-60. That was on Tuesday night. Texas Tech was at KU. KU won 90-85 Wednesday night. Number 25 Pitt played Notre Dame. That's Patrick's Notre Dame, and it was 88-81. Notre Dame ended up beating Pitt. So that's a good indication for Notre Dame going into the Big Ten tournament. What else we got here? Chicago State played at Gonzaga. Gonzaga crushed them, 104-65. That was on Wednesday night. Number 9 Texas lost to number 22 TCU, 75-73. Thursday night, number 1 Houston beat Wichita State, 83-66. Wichita State just doesn't have the teams that they've had in the past, and that's a little bit unfortunate. And then lastly, we'll close out with number 5 Purdue beating Wisconsin 63-61. Thursday evening game slate. Now, last night there was a couple games on, mostly of these obscure tournaments, and I kind of switched over from basketball. I was watching the DU versus Colorado College hockey, which was it was played here in Denver and was on CBS. So that was a really good hockey game. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into our hockey. So today we've got some big games. Normally we do our rapid fire picks, but because Patrick's not here today, I'm just going to highlight some of the games that are on this afternoon. And if you have a chance and want to come down here to Brothers, please do. There's somehow, I think, close to 86 TVs inside and out. There's 40 beers on tap. Remember, we are at the Shops of Northfield, just north of I-70, right near Bass Pro Shops and Harkin Theaters in the Shops of Northfield, Brothers Bar and Grill. Number 2 Alabama will play number 24 Texas A&M. That started already at 10 a.m. These are the 10 a.m. slates. Iowa State is at number 7 Baylor. A big game. Iowa State's been struggling. They ended up kicking off one of their players, Gill, and it's sad that that happened. And he was a guy who came off the bench and really provided a spark to them. But unfortunately, he said some things in a locker room situation, and Coach TJ said, "No, you will not say that kind of stuff," and kicked him off the team. Probably to set an example for the younger guys. Number 23, Kentucky is at Arkansas at 12 p.m. today, or 12 noon. Louisville at number 13, UVA. St. John's at number 6, Marquette. Now remember, all these are still regular season games. They haven't started their tournaments yet. Also at 12 o'clock, number 11, K-State is at West Virginia. Number 3, KU. This is the game of the day, folks. Put this on your calendar. At 2 p.m. today, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you've got number 3, KU at number 9, Texas. And I'm a little surprised that this game wasn't where College Game Day went this morning. Again, College Game Day, I think, sets their schedule before the season started. And you had Duke playing Carolina, and in Carolina, and that's where the College Game Day program was this morning. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So those are some games for college basketball to watch. Again, like I said, this is the biggest week, minus, of course, you get into the tournament and you get into the Final 8 and the Final 4. But this is a huge week, folks. If you're a basketball fan, enjoy, get out there and watch the ESPN affiliates, and you should get your fill. Also, too, pay attention to some of these smaller conferences, and if you see a team get on a roll and ended up winning, remember they're going to have momentum going into the tournament. They may end up being a team that's seeded, 11, 12, 13, 14. And those are great first round, second round matchup games where if the team has momentum going in, can beat some of these upper and tougher, bigger conference teams and really surprise them. And we see it every year. So if you can pick maybe 2 or 3 of those and ride them into the Sweet 16, who knows? Maybe you can win your pool at work. All right, so let's move into college hockey. And let's see if I can get the pairwise here from the USCHO, and we'll talk a little bit about what we've got going on this week. Again, hockey is pretty much done after this weekend as far as the regular season goes. So you're going to have each of the individual tournaments. We'll cover that next week with Patrick, and we'll go in and break down some of these major conferences, especially the top 6 conferences that we mentioned last week, that when you win that conference, you get an automatic bid to the field of 16. Remember, hockey only has 16 teams in their tournament to determine a national championship. Okay, and the Frozen Fours is their Final Four, is what they call it. So let's look and see what we've got for pairwise. Number 1, it's been like this pretty much all season long. You've got Minnesota. Number 2, Quinnipiac. Number 3 is DU. Little spoiler alert, Denver won last night. DU beat Colorado College 2-1. We'll talk a little bit about in detail about that game. Michigan's number 4, Boston University 5, Harvard 6. Harvard's jumping up. Remember, they were tied with Cornell at 10 for quite a while. They were stuck right around 10, 11, and now they're at 6. St. Cloud State unfortunately lost last night. They are at 7. Ohio State 8. Penn State is 8 as well. Western Michigan, who lost last week, DU went up and swept them, and Kalamazoo, which was a big, huge momentum for DU, and it won them the NCHC regular season championship. But Western Michigan is 10, Michigan Tech is 11, Notre Dame is 12. Remember, we're watching Notre Dame. They were a week ago, they were the last 4 teams into that tournament of 16, and them sitting at 12 is a good sign. Alaska 13, again another team that was in the final for the 4 teams that were just on the outside looking in. Cornell is 14. They were one of the last 4 teams in. If not, they were actually 15 or 16 ranked team last week, as far as not ranked pairwise, but as far as the in or out of the tournament goes for the final 16. Minnesota State Mankato is 14. Merrimack jumped up from 22 to 16. Nebraska Omaha 17. Northeastern 18. Michigan State 18. UConn 18. 3 teams at 18. RIT is at 21. Remember, they are trying to win their conference championship. If they do, they're automatically in at 21. Minnesota Duluth is 21 as well. North Dakota 23. Boston College is 24. UMass Lowell 24, and then 26 is Providence. So Cornell played against Brown last week and Yale and won both of their games. So that kind of gives you an idea. That's going to be, there'll be one more pairwise ranking, I believe, next week, and then at that point in time, we're going to have to start seeing what is the final 16 teams, who's in and who's out. Some of the games that we featured, let's talk about the Big Ten. The Big Ten is in their conference right now, their conference championship, and we'll highlight the first of 2 games out of the Big Ten. Penn State versus Ohio State. And Ohio State pulls out the victory against Penn State. We've been watching Penn State all year. They're having a marquee season, the best season I've ever seen that them have. So 5-1, Ohio State knocks them off. Not a good sign for Penn State. The game breaks down like this. First period, OSU scores. Penn State is blanked. 11 shots on goal by Ohio State, 14 shots on goal for Penn State. Second period, OSU blows it up, 3 goals in the second period on 14 shots. Penn State blanked again with only 7 shots on goal. The third period, both teams score. Chances are one of them was an empty netter for Penn State. Ohio State's probably was an empty netter. Anyways, they came out really shooting hard. 13 shots on goal for Penn State, 14 shots for Ohio State. That brings us again to what we said earlier, 5-1 Ohio State. 39 shots on goal for Ohio State, 34 overall for Penn State. So, like we said, the Big Ten Conference is underway. Let's move down and see how Michigan State, who's number 20, versus number 19, Notre Dame. Now remember, this is a different ranking. This is the USCHO poll versus the pairwise poll. So those numbers are just kind of subject to change, as we already said when we went through the pairwise poll. All right, so this game was 1-0. It was won in a shootout by Notre Dame. And basically, the game started out really slowly in the first period. Only 10 shots on goal by Michigan State, 9 shots by Notre Dame. Neither team was able to get one past the goaltenders. Period 2, Notre Dame scores in the second period. Michigan State, no score. 10 shots for Notre Dame on goal, 8 for Michigan State. 0-0 in the third period. 18 shots for Michigan State. Man, Notre Dame's goalie must have just been on fire, stopping 18 shots. Notre Dame only had 2 shots on goal, so the puck must have been down in their ice for most of that period. The final score, again, in the shootout, 1-0 Notre Dame. 21 shots for Notre Dame on goal is all. 36 shots for Michigan State. So we're seeing, one thing about Notre Dame is that they win, and they really, really skate well, and they've got a good defense and an exceptional goalie. They just don't get a whole lot of shots offensively. So we'll have to see if that changes as they move, and if they do qualify for the tournament, the final 16 for the Frozen Four. Let's move to the NCHC, which is the conference that DU plays in. Probably one of the strongest conferences in college hockey. We had Minnesota Duluth at number 6, St. Cloud State. Well, St. Cloud State was 6. They dropped to 7 because they lost 4-3. Duluth came out strong. They scored 2 goals in the first period on 9 shots. St. Cloud had 9 shots on goal, was blanked. Duluth, no goals in the second period, but 10 shots on goal. St. Cloud State wakes up, 2 goals on 11 shots. And then in the third period, Duluth comes out firing strong with 2 goals on 6 shots. St. Cloud State follows up with 1 goal, and we end up with the final score 4-3. 25 shots on goal for Duluth and 37 shots on goal for St. Cloud State. Once again, another team who outshoots their opponent but does not achieve a victory. So we've been seeing that a lot lately in our featured games. Folks, that's not normal. Normally the team that outshoots the other team will be the one that wins, and of course, statistically speaking, it just gives you more opportunities, the more shots you have in goal. All right, now the big game, the Golden Pan game. And the trophy will remain at DU. DU swept Colorado College. Colorado College is in a rebuilding mode. The game, I had a chance, I watched the first 2 periods, part of the second, and then I fell asleep. But the first 2 periods were incredible. I'd have to mention the goalie for Colorado College. His name is Caden Mberico. I got to learn how to say his name. He's a freshman. He's going to be around for a while. This kid looked unstoppable in the first period. He had 12 shots on goal, and he stopped all of them. This guy is only 5'11", but I'll tell you what, he plays really big in the crease. And I watched him play. He's very aggressive. He meets the incoming skaters and the people in front of the goal right at the top of the crease, and he stopped a lot of shots. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury halfway through the second period and was replaced by a goalie, Matt Vernon. He ended up with 6 saves. but it just wasn't the same kind of stoppage that you'd see from Umbilical, and that was a huge advantage for DU. The game breaks down like this. The first period, again, with Umbilical's just playing, and the puck was in Colorado College's ice almost the entire period. I mean, it almost didn't even seem like the puck would come across the center ice. And that's, a lot to be said for CC's goalie. But both teams were blanked in the first period. DU had 12 shots on goal. CC had 8 shots on goal. The second period, CC scored a goal. DU answered with 2 goals, 8 and 7 respectively as far as the number of shots. And then there was a lot of defense played in that third period by DU. Both teams 0-0. CC had 6 shots on goal, and DU had only 4 shots on goal. So your overall amount is 23 shots for DU, 22 shots for CC, a 2-1 victory, and it is the last regular season home game at Magnus Arena here in Denver. So good finish. I'll tell you what, I cannot believe DU's power play. Folks, if you get a chance to watch this college team play, please do. They handle the puck as well as an NHL team for their thing. I mean, their passing is so crisp, and they're constantly moving. Rizzo is just incredible. It's really an incredible, fun team to watch. And I can imagine, I haven't had a chance to go down and watch them live this year, but boy, they're fun to just even watch on TV. So check out the power play for DU, and let's wish them the best of luck going into the NCHC tournament. All right. Now, we're going a little fast today, mainly because, with Patrick not being here, there's only just me, so I'm kind of blowing through a lot of this stuff, and we're not talking a lot about the betting and stuff like that. So that's okay. But let's talk about our women's portion. We always do a women's portion, and we do that out of respect to the fairer sex and to the athletes out there, because they get so little coverage, and there's very few podcasts, there's very few media shows, there's very few anything covering female athletics. The Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Patrick the Picker wants to do our part and try to bring you just some awareness to some of the outstanding women out there. So let's start out up here in Boulder, just about 30 miles up the road, and CU's women's basketball team, for the first time since joining the Pac-12, which was back in 2011. I'll read the article, and this is from Denver Post article that was on Wednesday. For the first time since joining the Pac-12 a dozen years ago, the Colorado women's basketball team landed 2 players on the all-conference first team. Senior guard Jalen Sherrod and senior center Quay Miller both landed on the 16-player all-conference first team after helping the Buffs to a 22-7 regular season, and it's a 3rd-place finish in the Pac-10. So good job, CU girls. There's a couple other women that bear mentioning. Junior Frida Foreman and sophomore Antoinette Vonich both earned honorable mention. In addition, Sherrod was named to the all-conference defensive team, and Vanahay earned a co-most improved player award. So good. It's nice to see that CU is starting to compete the women's athletics and doing well up the road here. We'll be watching them in the Big Ten tournament, and we'll also be watching them in the women's NCAA field, and we'll see how they do. Again, South Carolina is still undefeated and ranked number 1. I had promised last week that we would go in and do a little bit of the top 25. We're going to push that to next week, right before their tournament starts, and just kind of give you a rundown of exactly where all these teams are and who to be watching for. I can tell you right now, out of the SEC, you want to watch University of South Carolina Gamecocks, you want to watch LSU. Also, Stanford has a very, very good team. You don't want to forget about them as well. Maryland's been tough. And like I said, that's more for next week. All right, let's talk about another individual, a female who happens to be my number 1 favorite basketball player in the WNBA. Her name is Kelsey Plum. She plays for the Las Vegas Aces, who won the WNBA championship in 2022, so they're the defending champions. She was the number 1 overall pick in 2017 for the Aces. And what I love about Kelsey Plum, first of all, her nickname, everybody on her team calls her Plum Dog. So what she started is a class, and she's inviting 9 of the top women guards in the country that are amateurs to a camp. And Under Armour is helping sponsor this. But she's calling it her dog class, her inaugural dog class. And that of course, the dog, D-A-W-G, is kind of a play off of her nickname. But she's going to try to impart knowledge to the next generation of women. And one of the things that is really wild that you don't think about is these women have the shortest ramp up from college to the draft to training camp and then to their first game in the WNBA. That all happens really quickly. So your short transition is after the final games of the season, the NCAA championship, 8 days later, they have the college draft. So these women get drafted, and then they will have on March 3rd or on April 30th, which is just like two and a half weeks later, they report to training camp. So a lot of these women are still in school. They're finishing their finals. You know, if they're seniors or if they're coming out early, maybe they're finishing their finals, and they're turning around and going to a short training camp. The training camp only lasts until May 19th when the first WNBA game starts. So what happens is a lot of these women get lost in the shuffle. You know, they've got to pick an agent. They've got to figure out, you know, where they're going to be living. They have to get ready to be playing against the best competition in the world. And there's just a whole host of things. And what Kelsey Plum is going to do is have kind of a camp. And not only are they going to play basketball, and she's going to impart what you need to do in her training techniques, her off-season training, all that kind of stuff, but she's going to talk about what you look for in an agent. Also, what to expect, you know, in the WNBA. It's really sink or swim for a lot of these ladies. So it's nice to see a person of this caliber, somebody who's close to their age. I mean, remember, she was just a rookie in 2017, but she's taking time out of her life and helping the next generation and paying it forward. So, way to go, Plum Dog. And Kelsey Plum, you continue to amaze me. Becky Hammond is her coach. Remember, Becky Hammond is a graduate from CSU. She also is with the San Antonio Spurs as a female coach. She was one of the only females to ever coach an NBA game. She is the highest paid WNBA coach and coach of the Las Vegas Aces, the defending WNBA champions. So, excellent. All right, well, folks, I wanted to mention something too. We've been posting a lot of our stuff into the LinkedIn, and last week we had those cutouts behind us. And unfortunately, LinkedIn cut our picture feed and really kind of blocked us on some of these sites. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see Kevin Hart and The Rock behind us, Joe Montana, and Conor McGregor. For some reason, I don't know if it was just a marketing thing or maybe it was just a trademark issue. But we apologize for that. We want to thank LinkedIn for allowing us on your platform. People that are watching on LinkedIn, thank you very much. I hope that we're just a distraction for you. You know, a lot of times you're on there looking for jobs, or you're looking to see what's going on, or maybe taking some continuing education classes, which are wonderful on LinkedIn. Give us a look and give us some comments and tell us what you like. Remember, we are here for pure entertainment value. So some of the people out there making comments saying, what is this on our mortgage professional network or whatever, it's purely for entertainment purposes, and just take it with a grain of salt. Okay? All right. Well, folks, next week Patrick will be back, and we'll go into the more heavy betting. We'll be doing a huge preview for the NCAA basketball tournament for the men. We'll highlight some of the women. We'll also give you a big update on all the different tournaments involved in the college hockey. We promised this week, too, that we were going to do kind of a mid-season kind of checkup for the NBA, the NHL, and the WNBA, which hasn't started playing yet, but we were talking about women's college basketball. We're going to wait and do that probably not next week either. We'll probably push it off just another week or so, and that will give you a better indication. You know, the NBA just had their All-Star game. The NHL about 3 or 4 weeks ago had their All-Star game. So we're right in that middle period, so we've got plenty of time to highlight them. So, all right, folks, in the meantime, hope everyone has a great week. Get out there, and as we always say, get your side hustle on and earn it. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew and Patrick the Picker. Seth is still giving us some kind of consulting, you know, every time I go down and talk to him. So he's still involved with the show. And for those of you out there that miss Seth, just keep giving us some comments. We pass them on to him. All right, folks, we'll see you next week. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend and get out there and enjoy this beautiful weather. Thank you very much.